In 2021, we sat down with Alex of Bizzy Coffee, a startup that had just secured itself as a #1 seller on Amazon. 1 year later, Alex and his team are bearing the fruits of their labor, flying off the shelves of thousands of brick-and-mortar stores.
To get to where we are today, I mean, it took us the 7 years, and we keep testing and improving new variables, improving on getting better, and that's one of our kind of company core values is continuous improvement. Alex French, I am the co-founder and CEO of Bizzy Coffee.
We knew we needed to get Alex on a call again to explain how he got Bizzy to where it is today, and what he's learned in the past year. For those who weren't there the first time around, Bizzy is in the business of cold brew. They have ready-to-drink bottles and these handy brew-at-home bags that are basically cold brew tea bags. Ever since we first tried their unique brew last year, the startup Savant team has been hooked, not to mention daily users of their glassware. Now, tell us, Alex, what has the growth of Bizzy Coffee looked like since you were last on?
So we're in probably 4,200, something like that. Before November last year, we were probably only in 1,500, 1,000 stores. But to get to that first 1,000 took years and years and years. So that's the tough part. And the thing about retail is you're buying physical inventory. And so the risk for the retailer, it could be any retail product, they're physically buying the product that's sitting on the shelf. So they have to know it's going to sell. And that's like the biggest obstacle to overcome. And so the big stores, you have to have proof of performance in order to get there. But in the early days, it's the chicken and the egg of like, okay, well, how do you show performance without being on the shelf? And so, what we did is you ground and pound your local stores because they're going to be like, we want to support local. You go to the same high school, you know their kids. It's a small store that has less risk. So we started with a 1 store, and then we got into a 10 store, and then we got into a 26 store, and then we got into the 80 store. And then all of a sudden, those stores start to compete with the other stores that are in their region. And they say, well, wait, you got them? I need them. Typically, it's kind of a slow build for the first 3 to 5 years. And then once you get to that proven performance at a big box store, everyone has to have you. And then it goes really big, really fast.
If we could include every investment tip Alex had from the full interview, we would. But then we'd be here for an hour. We're frankly blown away at the insight Alex had, like a water spigot turned to full blast. If you want to hear more about the funding rounds he's conducting, how he warm calls investors, where he learned his tricks, and what 18 months working inside VC taught him, check out the full podcast. Now, tell us about your latest funding round and your biggest takeaway from it.
As I'm learning, there's no rules in business. Nothing is standard. Everything is negotiable. The last round, we did a combination of debt and equity. And we did 2.4 million in equity, but it was on what's called a SAFE. And it's a different type of instrument. It stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. And it's like the greatest thing for entrepreneurs ever. It was created by Y Combinator. It basically is just a contract. It's a very thin couple-page document that basically just says, we're going to give you equity, and it's going to be at this price. And it doesn't sit as debt. If the company sells or if you raise more money, we're going to convert into that exact class of stock. But there's no real downside protection for them at all. And so that will convert into the next round of financing that we do with the same terms. And it's beneficial for the investor because typically the later stage investor gets more preferential terms, so they can invest earlier. And for us, they don't vote on anything. So it doesn't sit as debt and they have no voting rights.
What is your #1 piece of advice for early stage entrepreneurs?
So if you're in the idea stage, #1 piece of advice is write it down. Write it down on paper and tell as many people as you can, because it just goes from an idea to this it's tangible, right? You wrote your idea down. It is now out into the world. It's not just in your head. you have to follow through. You told someone you're going to do something, now you got to do it. What I've learned is people vote with their dollars. And so get to that dollar as fast as you can, because I can almost guarantee your version 1 of whatever your business is not going to be right. And so just get to that point as fast as you can so that you can then iterate faster to get to success faster, because it is a long journey. And every minute you can cut out helps, especially in that early stage. It's going to be wrong. Launch it with your best guess and just start going from there.